The CEO didn't recognize him, but he'd just spent 20 minutes complaining to her about his ex-wife. Caleb Turner sat in the glass-walled conference room, watching the woman from the car walk to the head of the table. Same dark hair, same calm eyes, same hands that had gripped the steering wheel while he'd rambled about granola bars and custody schedules. She wasn't his driver. She was Avery Cole, Chief Executive Officer, the person deciding his future in the next 10 minutes. Welcome to my life, he thought. Please hit subscribe, drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this disaster has traveled, and enjoy watching me professionally implode. The rain hit Boston like it had a personal grudge. Caleb Turner stood under the broken awning of his apartment building, watching water pour through the torn canvas in a steady stream that somehow always found his shoes. His phone screen was cracked, had been for 3 months, but he could still read the notification clearly enough. Your ride has been canceled. Perfect, he muttered. Absolutely perfect. He refreshed the app. The little car icon disappeared, reappeared, then vanished again like it was mocking him. Surge pricing had kicked in. What was $12 40 minutes ago was now $38. He had $42 in his checking account until Friday, and Friday was 3 days away. The interview started in 37 minutes. Downtown Boston. 4 miles through rush hour traffic that was probably already backing up because Bostonians forgot how to drive the second weather happened. He could take the T, but that meant 2 transfers, and he'd researched this yesterday. Track maintenance on the red line. Delays expected. He checked his phone again. 36 minutes. Mom? Mom, I can't find Mr. Whiskers. Find. Caleb turned. His daughter Emma stood in the doorway, 7 years old, wearing her purple raincoat with the hood that made her look like a small wizard. She was holding her backpack in one hand and nothing else. He's in your backpack, sweetheart. I checked. Check again. Front pocket. She dropped to her knees right there in the hallway, dumping the contents of her backpack onto the floor. Folders, crayons, a library book about dolphins that was due back 2 weeks ago. One shoe for some reason. No stuffed cat. Caleb felt the pressure building behind his eyes, the kind that meant either a headache was coming or he was about to make a very poor decision. Emma, we have to go. Now. But Mr. Whiskers, we'll find him tonight, I promise. Her face crumpled. Not the full crying, she was too old for that now, or thought she was, but the horrible wobbling thing she did with her chin that was somehow worse. You promised yesterday, she said quietly. He had. He'd promised yesterday, and the day before, and he'd get home too tired and forget, and she'd stopped reminding him because she was learning, already at 7, that sometimes promises from tired parents didn't count. The guilt sat in his chest like a stone. Tonight, he said. Tonight for real. But right now we need to move. She started shoving things back into her backpack. He checked his phone again, knowing it wouldn't help. 34 minutes. The apartment door opened behind them. Mrs. Chen from 3B, already dressed for her shift at the hospital, gave him the look. The same look he'd been getting from neighbors for 6 months. Concern mixed with something else. Judgment, maybe. Or pity. He wasn't sure which was worse. Interview? She asked. Yeah. You'll do great. The kindness in her voice made it worse somehow. He nodded, grabbed Emma's hand, and headed down the stairs 2 at a time. The building door dumped them directly into the rain. No gradual transition. Just suddenly wet. The kind of cold October rain that went straight through fabric and into bones. Emma squeaked and pulled her hood tighter. Caleb's jacket, the only one he owned that was even remotely interview appropriate, was already soaking through at the shoulders. The street was chaos. Cars everywhere, none of them taxis, all of them sending up sprays of dirty water. He pulled Emma close to the building and checked his phone again. 32 minutes. The drop-off point for Emma's school was 4 blocks away. Mrs. Patterson did before-school care in her living room for 6 kids in the neighborhood, charged $20 a week, and asked no questions when parents showed up frazzled. It was the only thing making any of this remotely possible. Come on, Em. They started walking. Emma's legs were shorter. She had to jog to keep up. The rain was coming down sideways now, and his shoes, already worn through at the heel, were making a squelching sound with every step. Dad? Yeah, baby? Did you eat breakfast? He had not eaten breakfast. There'd been no time, and besides, Emma needed the cereal more than he did. I'm good? You should have a granola bar. Miss Patterson always says breakfast is important. I'll grab something after the interview. She dug into her backpack while walking, which was a disaster waiting to happen, and produced a slightly crushed granola bar in a purple wrapper. Here, she said. It's my lucky one. He stopped walking. The rain poured down. A car horn blared somewhere. Your lucky one? Yeah. I was saving it for my spelling test, but you need it more. 7 years old, already rationing luck like they were living through a war. He took the granola bar. It felt heavier than it should. Thanks, Em. Don't worry, Dad. You're going to do great. The stone in his chest got heavier. They made it to Mrs. Patterson's house with 14 minutes to spare if he ran the entire 4 miles downtown. Mrs. Patterson opened the door, already talking, pulling Emma inside, commenting on the weather, mentioning something about a field trip permission slip. Caleb heard about half of it. He kissed Emma on the forehead, promised again about Mr. Whiskers, and turned back into the rain. His phone buzzed. Another ride-share cancellation. The universe was really committed to the bit today. He started jogging, made it half a block before his shoe situation became critical. The sole on his left foot was definitely separating. He could feel it flapping. Professional. Very professional. 12 minutes. The rain somehow got worse. He was passing the corner store when he saw it. A black sedan, idling at the curb, hazards on. Back door slightly open like someone had just gotten out. His brain made the connection instantly. Same model as the app showed. Black sedan. 4 doors. Waiting. The driver's window was tinted. He couldn't see inside. It had to be the replacement ride. The app must have glitched. Maybe the driver couldn't find him at his building, so they'd come here. He yanked open the back door and threw himself inside. Warmth. Immediate, shocking warmth. Leather seats, the smell of coffee and something else. Expensive perfume, maybe. Classical music playing softly from speakers that actually worked. Thank God, he said, breathing hard. Sorry, I know I'm not at the pin. The app's been crazy. I had to drop my daughter off, and the rain is... I'm soaking your seats. I'm sorry. I'll pay for cleaning if that's a thing. He was dripping everywhere, creating a small puddle on what was definitely real leather. The driver didn't respond. Caleb looked up. Not a driver. A woman. Mid-30s maybe, dark hair pulled back, wearing a black coat that probably cost more than his rent. She was looking at him in the rearview mirror with an expression he couldn't quite read. You're not... he started. No, she said. Her voice was quiet, controlled. I'm not. His stomach dropped. Oh God, this isn't my ride. Apparently not. He reached for the door handle. She didn't move to stop him, but she didn't look away either. I'm so sorry. The app said there was a cancellation, and I thought, I'm completely soaked. I just got in your car without asking. I'm sorry. The rain pounded on the roof. She was still watching him in the mirror. Where are you going? She asked. What? Where's your interview? He blinked. Water dripped from his hair onto the leather. Downtown. Seaport District. But I can't... I already ruined your morning. I'm going to Seaport, she said. The silence stretched out. Rain, classical music, his heart hammering. I can't ask you to do that. You didn't ask. I offered. She put the car in drive. Caleb sat frozen in the back seat, his brain struggling to catch up with reality. This woman, this stranger whose car he'd just invaded, was actually driving him to his interview. The universe had swung from hostile to bizarre in under 60 seconds. I really am sorry, he said again. You mentioned that. She pulled into traffic smoothly, like the rain wasn't even happening. The wipers moved in perfect rhythm. Everything about the car was controlled, precise. He felt like a chaos grenade that had just rolled into someone's organized life. I'm Caleb, he said, because the silence was somehow worse than talking. Avery. Short, professional, the kind of response that didn't invite follow-up questions. He should shut up, absolutely should shut up, sit quietly, let her drive, get out and disappear forever. I have this daughter, he heard himself say instead. Emma. She's 7. Just dropped her off at Before School Care because I had to be downtown early and the rideshare app completely died on me. All the rides got canceled, surge pricing went insane. I checked the train, but there's maintenance, and I'm already cutting it close time-wise, and he was rambling. He was absolutely rambling to this stranger who'd already done him a massive favor. Sorry, he said. I talk when I'm nervous. I noticed. But there was something in her voice, not quite amusement, but not irritation either. The car slid through a yellow light. The rain kept hammering. Caleb's jacket was creating a wet spot on the seat that he was trying very hard to ignore. What's the interview for? She asked. Operations analyst, supply chain stuff. It's a tech company in Seaport. Probably too good for me, honestly, but my friend works there and got me the referral, and I've been looking for 8 months now, and Emma needs new shoes, real ones, not the Target clearance ones that fall apart in 3 weeks. And he stopped himself. Definitely oversharing now. Sorry, too much information. You're qualified? Yeah, I think so. I did logistics for a shipping company for 6 years before they downsized. Turns out last hired, first fired is a real thing, not just something people say. I've been doing warehouse inventory since then, which is fine. It's not enough. The pay, For Emma. The words kept coming. Like his brain had decided that if he was already soaking this woman's expensive car, he might as well completely demolate any remaining dignity. She's got this stuffed cat, he continued. Mr. Whiskers. Can't sleep without it. She couldn't find it this morning, and I didn't have time to look because of the interview, and I promised her I'd find it tonight, which I also promised yesterday and the day before, and I keep forgetting because by the time I get home, I'm just tired, Avery finished quietly. Yeah. She turned onto Atlantic Avenue. The Seaport buildings were starting to appear through the rain, glass and steel and money. Single parent? She asked. Is it that obvious? You mentioned your ex-wife twice without saying the word ex-wife. Caleb laughed. It came out more bitter than he meant. Divorced 18 months. She's in California with her new husband. Sees Emma every other Christmas and sends cards on birthdays. Sometimes. The new guy's got money, so that's good for her. Less good for me, since the comparison keeps getting made. By who? Everyone. Emma's teachers, other parents, the guy at the bank when I'm trying to explain why I need an extension on the overdraft fee. Everyone's very nice about it, very understanding, which somehow makes it worse. Avery was quiet for a moment. The wipers moved. Swish, swish. You're doing it alone, she said. It wasn't a question. Yeah, her grandparents are in Florida. Mine are gone. No siblings. It's me. And I'm trying, but some days I feel like I'm drowning and everyone's watching and being very polite about not mentioning it. He had no idea why he was telling her this. This stranger, this woman whose morning he'd hijacked. Sorry, he said for the 5th or 6th time. You probably didn't sign up for the sad single dad monologue when you got in your car this morning. It's fine. But her voice had changed, something softer in it. Emma sounds like a good kid, Avery said. She's the best kid. She gave me her lucky granola bar this morning for the interview. She was saving it for her spelling test, but she said I needed it more. He pulled the slightly crushed purple wrapper from his pocket. It was damp now. 7 years old and already managing family morale. I'm doing great as a parent. You showed up, Avery said. That counts. The simplicity of it hit him sideways. You showed up. Yeah, well, some days that's all I've got. They were getting close now. The building appeared through the rain, all glass and modern architecture, the kind of place that had a lobby fountain and security guards. That's it, Caleb said. The tall one with the weird angular thing on top. Avery pulled up to the curb, put the car in park, turned in her seat to look at him directly for the first time. She was younger than he'd thought, maybe early 30s, dark eyes that looked like they didn't miss much. There was something in her face, not sympathy exactly, something more complicated. What time's the interview? She asked. He checked his phone. 4 minutes. You'll make it. Thanks to you, thank you. This was incredibly kind, and I promise I don't make a habit of getting into strangers' cars and trauma dumping for 20 minutes. It wasn't trauma dumping. It was definitely trauma dumping. The corner of her mouth moved, almost a smile. Good luck, Caleb. He grabbed the door handle, then stopped. I didn't get your last name. You don't need it. In case I want to, I don't know, send you a thank you card or something. Do people still do that? They don't. She was still watching him, those dark eyes giving nothing away. Right, he said. Well, thank you, Avery. Seriously. You saved me today. He got out of the car. The rain immediately soaked him again. He turned back to give her a wave, but she was already pulling away. The black sedan disappearing into traffic like the whole thing had been some kind of weird dream. Caleb stood on the curb, dripping and holding a Lucky granola bar, watching the taillights vanish. Then he turned and ran for the building. The lobby was everything he'd expected. Marble floors, modern art that probably cost more than his car, if he had a car. A reception desk with two people behind it who looked like they'd never had a problem in their lives. He approached slowly, very aware that he was trailing water. Hi, I'm Caleb Turner. I have an interview with ninth floor, the woman said without looking up. They're expecting you. The elevator was glass. Of course it was glass. He could watch himself ascending, getting a full view of exactly how soaked he was. His jacket was definitely ruined. His shoes were making noise. His hair was doing something that he didn't want to look at too closely. You showed up, Avery's voice said in his head. That counts. The elevator dinged. Ninth floor. The doors opened onto a reception area that looked like it belonged in a tech magazine. Exposed brick, modern furniture, a wall covered in awards and press clippings, and behind a sleek desk, a young guy with perfect hair and a headset. Caleb Turner? That's me. Great, you can wait right over there. Miss Chen will be with you in just a moment. Caleb sat in a chair that probably cost more than his monthly rent. His jacket dripped. He tried to arrange himself in a way that looked professional. Failed. The Lucky granola bar was still in his pocket. He pulled it out, looked at it, then carefully unwrapped it and took a bite. It tasted like peanut butter and Emma's faith in him, which was somehow the same flavor. A door opened. A woman appeared. Mid-50s, glasses, carrying an iPad. Mr. Turner? I'm Lisa Chen, Director of Operations. Thanks for coming in. If you'll follow me? He stood, tried not to squelch. They walked down a hallway lined with conference rooms. Through the glass walls, he could see people in meetings. Everyone looked competent. Everyone looked dry. Terrible weather today, Lisa said. Yeah, my rideshare canceled. Had to improvise. Well, you're here. That's what matters. You showed up. They reached a conference room at the end of the hall. Lisa opened the door. Have a seat. The team will be in shortly. Can I get you some water? Coffee? Water's great, thank you. She left. Caleb sat at the conference table and tried not to think about how much he needed this. The glass walls felt like a fishbowl. He could see people walking past, glancing in, probably wondering who the drowned rat was. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma, sent from Mrs. Patterson's phone. Good luck, Dad. You got this. The stone in his chest shifted. The door opened. Lisa came back in, followed by two other people. A guy about Caleb's age, wearing a button-down with the sleeves rolled up. And behind him, Caleb's brain stuttered. Behind him was Avery. Same dark hair, same dark eyes, same expression he couldn't read. She was carrying a folder. Wearing the same black coat from the car, except now he could see what she'd been wearing underneath, a perfectly tailored suit that screamed executive. She looked at him. He looked at her. Neither of them said anything. This is Marcus Webb, our senior operations manager, Lisa said, gesturing to the guy. And this is Avery Cole. Avery extended her hand across the table. Mr. Turner, she said, thanks for coming in. Her voice was the same, quiet, controlled, giving absolutely nothing away. Caleb shook her hand because his brain couldn't think of an alternative. Happy to be here, he managed. Lisa was still talking, something about the position, the team structure, the company culture. Caleb heard maybe a quarter of it. The rest of his brain was screaming. The woman from the car. The stranger he'd unloaded 20 minutes of his life on. She wasn't just some random person running late. She was in his interview. Oh God, she's going to think I made it all up. She's going to think I knew who she was and played some sympathy card to get ahead. Avery sat down, opened her folder. Her face showed nothing. So, Mr. Turner, Marcus said, leaning forward with a friendly smile, tell us about your experience with supply chain optimization. And just like that, the interview started. Caleb talked. He had no idea what he was saying. Something about logistics, distribution networks, efficiency metrics, The words came out on autopilot while his brain tried to process the absolute disaster his morning had become. Avery took notes, didn't look up. Marcus asked follow-up questions. Seemed genuinely interested. Lisa nodded along, occasionally checking her iPad. It felt like an out-of-body experience, like watching himself perform in a play he hadn't rehearsed for. "Let me ask you this," Marcus said. "We've been having issues with our East Coast distribution. Orders are getting delayed and we can't figure out why. If you were coming into this situation fresh, where would you start?" Caleb's brain finally clicked back into focus. This was his world. The actual work. "First thing I'd check is your carrier contracts," he said. "A lot of companies lock into agreements without regular review. Your volume might have changed, which means your shipping tier changed, which affects priority. If you're shipping the same volume you were 2 years ago but in a lower tier now, you're getting bumped for higher tier customers during peak times." Marcus glanced at Lisa. Something passed between them. "We did have a volume drop last year," Lisa said slowly, "after the restructure." "Right. So your carrier probably downgraded you automatically and no one noticed because the contracts are complicated and the language is deliberately unclear. I'd pull your shipping manifests from the last 6 months and compare them to your contract terms. I bet you'll find delays cluster around high traffic periods, Monday mornings, Thursday afternoons, anytime the carrier is juggling priority customers." Marcus was nodding. Yeah, the delays are definitely clustered. After you identify the tier issue, you've got 2 options. Renegotiate with your current carrier from a position of knowledge or shop around. Most companies don't realize they have leverage. Carriers want to keep customers, even downgraded ones. Threaten to walk, and suddenly they find ways to improve your service level without changing your tier. He was on a roll now. This was the stuff he knew, the stuff he was actually good at. You should also audit your warehouse loading procedures. If orders are staged inefficiently, it doesn't matter what your carrier agreement says. You're creating delays before the truck even leaves. I saw it all the time at my last job. The warehouse team and the logistics team weren't talking to each other, so products were getting stored based on warehouse convenience instead of shipping frequency. "How would you fix that?" Marcus asked. "Cross-training. Get your warehouse leads in the same room as your logistics coordinators. Map out your top 50 SKUs by volume and make sure those are the easiest to access. It's not complicated, it just requires breaking down the silo." Avery was still taking notes. Her pen moved steadily across the page. "What about international shipping?" Lisa asked. "We've been expanding into Europe, and it's been a nightmare." "Customs documentation?" "Yes. How did you know?" "It's always customs documentation. Companies think they can use the same paperwork process for international that they use domestically, and it blows up in their faces. You need someone who actually understands HS codes and country-specific requirements, preferably someone who's dealt with EU regulations specifically, because they're different from UK regulations now, post-Brexit, and if you're routing through multiple countries, you're dealing with multiple sets of rules." He talked for another 10 minutes. Distribution strategies, inventory management, the importance of data integrity. All the stuff he'd been doing for years, watching other people get promoted while he stayed in place. When he finally stopped, there was a moment of silence. Marcus was grinning. "That's the most specific answer anyone's given us on the international question. I deal with specifics," Caleb said. "Big picture is great, but if your data's wrong, your big picture is fiction." Lisa laughed. Actually, laughed. Avery closed her folder, looked at him directly for the first time since sitting down. "You said you've been looking for 8 months, she said. His stomach dropped. "Here it comes. She's going to call me out." "Yes." "Why so long?" "Honestly, I think I've been applying for the wrong jobs, stuff I'm overqualified for because I'm scared of aiming too high and falling short. My daughter needs stability. I can't afford to take risks that don't pay off. So why apply here?" "My friend convinced me. Said I was being stupid, which is probably true. This job is above my level. I know that. But the problems you're describing, I know how to fix them. I've fixed them before, so maybe I'm not qualified on paper, but I'm qualified where it counts." Avery's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Turner," she said. "We'll be in touch." And just like that, it was over. Marcus shook his hand. Lisa walked him to the elevator. He stepped inside, watched the doors close, and descended back down to the marble lobby where none of this had started. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. Caleb stood on the curb, numb. His phone buzzed. Another text from Emma. How did it go? He stared at the message, at the double question marks, at his daughter's faith that somehow, despite everything, things would work out. I just completely humiliated myself in front of a woman who gave me a ride out of kindness, and who now thinks I'm either a manipulative liar or the world's most pathetic disaster. He typed back, Good. I'll tell you all about it tonight. Then he started the long walk to the train station, his shoes squelching, his jacket ruined, Emma's lucky granola bar wrapper still in his pocket. Behind him, 9 floors up, Avery Cole stood at the conference room window and watched him disappear into the drizzle. The call came on a Wednesday. Caleb was elbow deep in a box of incorrectly labeled brake pads when his phone started buzzing in his back pocket. He ignored it. Whatever it was could wait until his 15-minute break, which wasn't for another hour and 12 minutes. Not that he was counting. The buzzing stopped, started again immediately. You gonna get that? Rodriguez called from across the warehouse floor. Caleb pulled off his work gloves, fished out his phone. Unknown number, Boston area code. Probably a spam call about his car's extended warranty. For the car he didn't own. He answered anyway. This is Caleb. Mr. Turner, this is Lisa Chen from Cole Industries. Do you have a moment? His brain went blank. Cole Industries. The interview. 5 days ago. He'd assumed the silence meant rejection, the polite kind where they just never called back. Yes, I have a moment. Rodriguez was watching him now. Caleb turned away, walked toward the loading dock where the noise wasn't as bad. We'd like to offer you the position, Lisa said. Operations analyst reporting directly to Marcus Webb. Starting salary is $78,000, full benefits, 3 weeks PTO. Can you start Monday? $78,000. Caleb leaned against the loading dock door. The number kept repeating in his head. $78,000. He'd been making $34 at the warehouse. Before that, $42 at the shipping company. Mr. Turner? Are you still there? Yeah, sorry, I'm just... Yes, I accept. Monday works. Excellent. I'll send over the paperwork this afternoon. Welcome to the team. She hung up. Caleb stood there holding his phone, staring at nothing. Yo, Turner! Rodriguez again. You good? I got a job. You have a job. A different job. A better job. No shit? Doing what? Operations analyst, some tech company downtown. Rodriguez let out a low whistle. Look at you, moving up in the world. Yeah, Caleb said. The word felt strange in his mouth. Moving up. He finished his shift in a daze, put in his 2 weeks' notice with the warehouse manager who barely looked up from his clipboard. Took the train home. Picked up Emma from Mrs. Patterson's. Did you find Mr. Whiskers? She asked the second he walked through the door. He had not found Mr. Whiskers. He'd completely forgotten about Mr. Whiskers. Not yet, sweetheart, but I have some good news. They sat at their tiny kitchen table, the one that wobbled if you put too much weight on the left side, and he told her about the job. She didn't understand what $78,000 meant, not really, but she understood new shoes and maybe a bigger apartment, and that Dad seemed happier than he'd been in months. Does this mean we can get pizza? She asked. Yeah, and we can get pizza. They ordered from this place down the street, ate it on paper plates because half their dishes were still packed from the last move. Emma told him about her day, something about a kid named Tyler who ate paste, and how dolphins could sleep with half their brain at a time, which she thought was cool. Caleb listened and felt the knot in his chest loosen just slightly. That night, after Emma was asleep, he pulled out his laptop and Googled Cole Industries. He'd done basic research before the interview, but now he actually read. Tech company, 15 years old, specialized in supply chain software. Revenue in the hundreds of millions. Offices in 6 countries. And the CEO was Avery Cole. Not just some executive, not just someone important. The founder. The person whose name was on the building. There were photos, professional headshots where she looked polished and untouchable. Articles in business magazines with titles like The Woman Revolutionizing Logistics and How Avery Cole Built an Empire on Efficiency. None of them mentioned anything about picking up soaking wet strangers and listening to them ramble about custody schedules. Caleb closed the laptop. Monday morning arrived faster than he was ready for. He'd bought a new shirt, just one, on clearance at Target, but it fit and didn't have any stains. His jacket was still ruined from the rain, so he wore a blazer he'd borrowed from his friend Kyle. It was slightly too big in the shoulders, but it was better than nothing. Emma helped him tie his tie. She'd learned how on YouTube, declared herself an expert, and now insisted on doing it every time. "You look fancy, Dad." "I look nervous." "Same thing." He dropped her at Mrs. Patterson's, took the train downtown, and walked into the Coal Industries lobby at exactly 8:57. Same marble floors, same reception desk, different receptionist. "Caleb Turner," he said. "First day." She handed him a badge and a folder. "9th floor. Lisa's expecting you." The elevator ride felt longer this time. He watched the numbers climb and tried to remember how to breathe normally. 9th floor. The doors opened. Lisa was waiting, all efficiency and smiles. "Welcome. Let me show you to your desk." She walked him through the office. Open floor plan, standing desks, a coffee station that had actual espresso. His desk was in a cluster with 3 others, near a window that overlooked the harbor. "You'll be working closely with Marcus's team," Lisa said. "They're in a meeting right now, but they'll be out soon. In the meantime, here's your laptop, here's your login info, and here's way too much paperwork to fill out." She wasn't kidding about the paperwork. Tax forms, benefits enrollment, direct deposit, emergency contacts. He worked through it methodically, while people filtered past, introduced themselves, forgot his name immediately. Around 10:30, Marcus appeared. "Caleb, you made it. How's the first day treating you?" "Still waiting for someone to realize they hired the wrong person." Marcus laughed. "Give it a week. That feeling doesn't go away. You just get better at ignoring it. Come on, I'll introduce you to the team." They walked to a conference room where 4 people were gathered around a laptop, arguing about a spreadsheet. "Everyone, this is Caleb Turner. He's joining us as an analyst. Caleb, this is Jen, David, Priya, and Sam." Handshakes, smiles, names he'd definitely forget by lunch. "We're just reviewing the Q3 distribution numbers," Jen said, "trying to figure out why our West Coast orders are consistently late." "Same carrier issues?" Caleb asked. "We think so, but we can't pin it down." "Can I see the data?" They made room at the table. Caleb pulled the laptop closer, started scrolling through the spreadsheet. Numbers, dates, tracking codes. It was messy. Different people had clearly been updating it with different systems. "Your data structure is inconsistent," he said after a minute. "You've got some entries using the old tracking format and some using the new one, which means your filters aren't catching everything." "We switched systems in August," David said. "Could that be it?" "Probably part of it, but look here." He pointed at a column. "These delay codes, you're categorizing them as carrier delays, but these specific codes actually indicate warehouse staging problems. The carrier's not late. You're handing them the shipment late." Silence. Priya leaned in. "How do you know that?" "The codes. See this one? W47. That's warehouse staging, not carrier pickup. Someone on your team is misreading the reports." Marcus was looking at him with an expression Caleb couldn't quite place. "We've been fighting with the carrier for 2 months about this," Marcus said slowly. "It's not the carrier, it's your warehouse process. Probably the same silo issue I mentioned in the interview. Your warehouse team and logistics team aren't synced. Can you fix it?" "I can try." "Do it." And just like that, Caleb had his first project. He spent the rest of the day diving into distribution data, warehouse schedules, carrier contracts. It was the kind of detailed, methodical work that made his brain happy. Numbers didn't lie. Numbers didn't play politics. Numbers just were. By 5 o'clock, he had a preliminary analysis written up. By 6, he'd sent it to Marcus. By 6:30, Marcus had forwarded it to someone else with the subject line, "Look at this." Caleb packed up his borrowed blazer and headed for the elevator, exhausted, but in a good way. The kind of tired that came from actually using his brain instead of just moving boxes. The elevator doors opened. Avery Cole stepped out. They nearly collided. Caleb jerked back. She stopped. "Sorry," he said automatically. She was carrying a coffee and her phone, wearing a different suit but the same expression of controlled calm. "Mr. Turner." "Miss Cole." The formality felt absurd after the car ride, but what else was he supposed to do? Reference it? Pretend it never happened? "First day?" she asked. "Yeah, just finished." "How was it?" "Good. Confusing. I found a data problem. I heard. She stepped past him into the office. Good work. And then she was gone, disappearing down the hallway before he could figure out if that was dismissal or approval. The next 2 weeks blurred together. Caleb fixed the West Coast distribution problem, then got pulled into a project analyzing their European shipping routes, then another project about inventory forecasting, then another about vendor contract optimization. He worked late most nights, not because anyone asked him to, but because the problems were interesting and for the first time in years, people actually listened to his solutions. Emma started complaining that he was tired all the time. She was right, but it was a different kind of tired than the warehouse exhaustion. This was the kind that came with progress. Mrs. Patterson started giving him looks again, the concerned kind. "You're working too much," she said one evening when he showed up 20 minutes late for pickup. "I'm making up for lost time." "You're going to burn out." "I'm fine." He wasn't fine. He was running on coffee and adrenaline and the terror that if he slowed down for even a second, someone would realize the mistake they'd made in hiring him. 3 weeks in, Marcus called him into his office. "Close the door," Marcus said. Caleb's stomach dropped. This was it. They'd figured it out. "Am I in trouble?" "What? No. Sit down." Caleb sat. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying him. "You've done more in 3 weeks than some analysts do in 3 months. The European routing plan you sent over? We're implementing it. It's going to save us about $200,000 a year." "Oh, good. So here's my question. Why were you working in a warehouse?" "I needed a job. They were hiring." "You're better than that." "Didn't feel like it at the time." Marcus nodded slowly. "I get it. Bad timing, bad luck, things fall apart. But you're here now, and I want you on a bigger project." "How much bigger?" "Avery wants a full operational audit. Every distribution center, every carrier contract, every process touch point. She thinks we've got systemic inefficiencies we're not seeing because we're too close to it." That's a huge project." "Yeah, months of work. You'd be lead analyst." Caleb's brain stuttered. "I've been here 3 weeks, and you've proven you can do the work. You want it or not?" Did he want it? The question was almost funny. This was the kind of project that could define a career. The kind people put on their resumes and talked about in interviews for years. "Yes," he said, "I want it." "Good. You'll report directly to Avery on this one." The good feeling evaporated. "Directly? Problem?" "Yes." The problem was that he'd spent the last 3 weeks carefully avoiding Avery Cole. They'd passed each other in hallways exactly 4 times. Each time she'd nodded. He'd nodded. Neither of them mentioned the car ride, and now he was going to report directly to her on a months-long project. "No problem," Caleb said. "When do I start?" "Meeting's Friday, 2 o'clock. Conference room C. Bring questions." Caleb spent the next 2 days preparing. He pulled every piece of operational data he could find. Distribution reports, carrier performance metrics, warehouse efficiency scores. He built spreadsheets. He made charts. He rehearsed what he was going to say. By Friday at 1:50, he was as ready as he was going to be. Conference room C was on the executive floor. 10th floor. Caleb had never been to the 10th floor. The elevator opened onto a different world. Quieter, more space between desks, actual art on the walls. He found the conference room. Through the glass walls, he could see Avery already there, reading something on her laptop. He knocked. She looked up, gestured him in. "Mr. Turner, have a seat." He sat across from her, put his laptop on the table. His hands were sweating. "Marcus told you about the audit?" she asked. "Yes. What do you think?" "I think you're right. There are inefficiencies. I've been seeing them since I started. Small things individually, but they add up." "Such as?" He opened his laptop, pulled up his notes. "Your carrier contracts are outdated. You're locked into rates that made sense 5 years ago but don't match your current shipping volume. Your warehouse distribution is based on geography instead of demand patterns, which means you're storing high-volume products in low-traffic warehouses. Your data systems don't talk to each other properly, so you're making decisions based on incomplete information." Avery listened without interrupting. Her face gave nothing away. "How long have you known this?" she asked when he finished. "Suspected it the first week. Confirmed it the second." "Why didn't you say anything?" "I'm the new guy. Who's going to listen to me?" I'm listening now. The directness of it caught him off guard. Right, he said. Well, that's what I found. Avery closed her laptop, leaned back in her chair. This audit is going to make people uncomfortable, she said. You're going to be questioning processes they've been using for years, suggesting changes that make their jobs harder in the short term. Some people are going to push back. Some are going to actively work against you. I've dealt with difficult people before. Not like this. This is politics and territory and egos. You'll need to be smart about it. I can be smart. She almost smiled. Almost. You'll have full access to everything. Financial data, operational systems, personnel records where relevant. You report to me weekly. I want written updates and your honest assessment, not what you think I want to hear, what you actually find. Even if it's bad? Especially if it's bad. Caleb nodded. His heart was hammering, but his brain was already working through the project structure. Can I ask you something? He said. Go ahead. Why me? You've got senior analysts who've been here for years, people who know the company. Why give this to the guy who's been here 3 weeks? Avery was quiet for a moment, her dark eyes steady on his. Because you got in my car by accident and spent 20 minutes telling me the truth about your life. No performance, no agenda, just the truth. That's rare, especially in this building. The memory of that morning hit him. The rain, the panic, the way he'd just talked and talked without thinking. I trauma dumped on my future CEO, he said. You were honest. I value honesty. Even when it's messy? Especially when it's messy. She stood, extended her hand. Welcome to the project, Mr. Turner. He shook her hand. Her grip was firm, professional. Thank you, Miss Cole. It's Avery. We're going to be working closely. Might as well use first names. Caleb, he said. I know. She walked him to the door, stopped just before opening it. One more thing, she said. Don't burn yourself out. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you work yourself into the ground in the first month, you're no good to me. I'll pace myself. Will you? The question was pointed enough that he actually had to think about it. I'll try, he said honestly. She nodded, opened the door. Good luck, Caleb. He took the elevator back down to 9, sat at his desk, and stared at his computer screen for a solid 5 minutes. Then he opened a new document and started outlining the audit structure. The next 6 weeks were intense. Caleb built a framework for analyzing every operational touchpoint. He interviewed department heads, warehouse managers, logistics coordinators. He sat in on planning meetings. He reviewed contracts that were longer than novels. Every Friday at 2, he met with Avery in Conference Room C and walked her through his findings. She asked hard questions, challenged his assumptions, pushed him to dig deeper. You're saying the problem is the warehouse layout, she said during their 4th meeting. But you haven't talked to the warehouse staff. You're working from reports. The reports show what people want you to see. Go to the warehouse, watch them work, then tell me what the problem is. So he went to the warehouse, spent 3 days watching forklifts move pallets, watching workers pull orders, watching the controlled chaos of a distribution center in action. And he saw it. The thing the reports didn't show. The warehouse was laid out for maximum storage, not maximum efficiency. Popular items were stored in the back because they'd arrived first. Seasonal items took up prime space year-round. The workers had developed their own workarounds, unofficial paths through the aisles, informal systems for tracking stock, because the official system didn't match reality. He came back and rewrote his entire warehouse section. Avery read it, looked up at him. This is better, she said. I should have done it this way from the start. You did it the right way eventually. That's what matters. She was a strange boss, demanding but not cruel. She expected excellence, but didn't punish mistakes if you learned from them. She worked longer hours than anyone else in the building. Caleb knew because he was usually there late too, and he'd see her light on. They didn't talk about the car ride. It hung there between them, unmentioned, like a secret they were both keeping. Emma asked about work every night at dinner. Is your boss nice? She's fair. That's not the same thing. No, it's not. He still hadn't found Mr. Whiskers. Emma had stopped asking, which was worse somehow. He was working late on a Tuesday. Everyone else had gone home, when his desk phone rang. Internal extension. Turner. Caleb, It's Avery. Can you come up to 10? His stomach flipped. Late-night calls to the executive floor were never good. On my way. He took the elevator up. The 10th floor was dark except for Avery's office at the end of the hall. He could see her through the glass walls silhouetted against the city lights. He knocked. She waved him in. "Close the door," she said. He closed the door. Her office was bigger than his apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Minimalist furniture. A desk that looked like it cost more than his car, if he had a car. Avery was standing by the window holding a glass of something amber. "Want one?" she asked. "I'm good." She gestured to the chair. He sat. "I read your carrier contract analysis," she said. "And?" "You're recommending we break contracts with 3 of our biggest carriers. The contracts are costing you millions. They're outdated, inflexible, and the carriers know it. They're not incentivized to improve because you're locked in. Breaking those contracts will cause chaos, short-term disruption, angry phone calls from people who've had relationships with those carriers for years." "Yes." "You're sure this is the right move?" He met her eyes. "Yes." She took a sip of her drink, looked out at the city. "When I started this company," she said, "I did everything myself. Sales, logistics, accounting, all of it. I worked 100-hour weeks and slept in this office more nights than I can count. And at some point, I had to start delegating, trusting other people to make decisions." She turned back to him. "That's harder than it sounds. Especially when you've built something from nothing. Every decision feels personal. Every mistake feels like your fault." "I can imagine." "Can you?" The question wasn't rhetorical. "I've never built a company," Caleb said carefully. "But I've tried to build a life for my daughter, and yeah, every mistake there feels personal too. Every time I'm late for pickup or forget something she asked for or work too much and miss her school thing, that's on me. I can't delegate that." Avery was quiet. "Your carrier recommendation," she said. "Walk me through it one more time, why you're confident." So he did. He explained the data, the trends, the risk analysis. He showed her the comparison models he'd built. He answered every question she had. When he finished, she set down her glass. "Do it," she said. "Draft the termination letters. I'll review them Monday." "You're sure?" "You convinced me. Don't second-guess it now." He stood to leave, got to the door, stopped. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "That morning, the car ride. Did you know I was interviewing?" She looked at him for a long moment. "Lisa had sent me your resume. I'd read it before I left that morning. So yes, I knew." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to know who you were when you thought it didn't matter, when you weren't performing for an interview." "And?" "And you were the same person. That's rare, Caleb." He nodded, didn't trust himself to say anything else. "Go home," Avery said. "It's late." "You're still here." "I live alone. I can work late without feeling guilty about it." The honesty of it surprised him. "Emma says I work too much," he said. "Emma's probably right." "Yeah, she usually is." He took the elevator down, walked out into the cold October night, and caught the train home. Emma was asleep on the couch when he got there, still in her school clothes. Mrs. Patterson had covered her with a blanket and left a note about dinner in the fridge. He carried Emma to bed, found Mr. Whiskers wedged behind her dresser, and tucked the stuffed cat under her arm. She stirred. "Dad?" "Yeah, baby, I'm here." "Did you eat dinner?" "Not yet." "You should eat. It's important." "I will. Go back to sleep." She was out again in seconds. Caleb stood there in her doorway, watching her breathe, and felt the familiar weight in his chest, the one that said he was failing her. Working too much, present too little, always catching up and never quite making it. But he'd found Mr. Whiskers. That had to count for something. The carrier contract terminations went through in November. Caleb had expected pushback. He got a full-scale revolt. The operations director, a man named Richard who'd been with the company for 12 years, cornered him in the break room on a Thursday morning. "You've been here 4 months," Richard said, not bothering to lower his voice. 4 months. And you think you know better than people who built these relationships? Caleb poured his coffee slowly. "I'm just following the data. The data doesn't account for human relationships, for trust, for years of partnership. The data accounts for the $2 million you're overpaying annually because those partnerships have gotten comfortable. Richard's face went red. You're making enemies, Turner. Fast. I'm doing my job. Your job is to support this team, not tear it apart. Other people were watching now. Pretending not to, but watching. Caleb picked up his coffee. If you have concerns about the audit, bring them to Avery. She approved everything. Oh, I will. Richard stormed out. The break room stayed quiet for about 5 seconds. Then everyone suddenly remembered they had somewhere else to be. Caleb took his coffee back to his desk and tried to focus on the inventory analysis he'd been working on. His hands were shaking slightly. He'd never been good at confrontation. Had spent most of his life avoiding it. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Heard about Richard? You okay? Caleb typed back. Fine. He's not wrong about the enemies part, though. Comes with the territory. You're changing things. People hate change. Even when it's necessary, especially then. That afternoon, Caleb had his weekly meeting with Avery. He walked into conference room C expecting her to mention the Richard situation. She didn't. Instead, she had a new problem. The gala, she said, sliding a folder across the table. What gala? Annual company gala, December 15th, black tie. All the executives, major clients, board members. I need you there. Caleb opened the folder. Invitation on heavy cardstock. Formal event at some hotel ballroom he'd definitely never been to. Why do you need me there? Because you're lead analyst on the biggest operational project this company's done in 5 years. People are going to ask questions. I need you to answer them. I'm not good at these things. These things? Social events, networking, small talk with people who matter. Avery studied him. You talked to me for 20 minutes in a car. That was different. I thought you were a rideshare driver. So pretend everyone's a rideshare driver. That's not how it works. Then learn how it works. This is part of the job, Caleb. He looked at the invitation again. Black tie. He didn't own a tux, couldn't afford to rent one, not with Emma's birthday coming up. I'll try, he said. That's not a yes. It's the best I've got right now. She sighed, closed her laptop. Richard came to see me, she said. There it was. What did he say? That you're arrogant, inexperienced, and destroying relationships he spent years building. Am I fired? Do you think you should be? Caleb met her eyes. No. I think Richard's angry because I'm proving that the way he's been doing things is inefficient, and instead of adapting, he's attacking me. That's a very diplomatic answer. I don't feel diplomatic. I feel like I'm in over my head and making people hate me. Good. Good? If everyone liked you, you wouldn't be doing the job right. This audit is supposed to be disruptive. That's the point. She stood up, walked to the window. The harbor was gray today, matching the sky. When I started this company, she said, I thought being nice would be enough. Being fair, being honest, treating people well. And then I learned that sometimes being a good leader means making people uncomfortable, means making decisions that hurt in the short term because they're right in the long term. She turned back to him. Richard's not wrong that you're changing things, but change is what I hired you for. So keep changing things, and let me deal with Richard. What if he's right, though? What if I'm missing something? Are you? Caleb thought about the contracts, the data, the analysis he'd done and redone. No, he said. I don't think I am. Then trust your work, and come to the gala. That's not optional. He left the meeting feeling slightly less like he was drowning, only slightly. That night, Emma had a project due, something about the solar system. She'd known about it for 2 weeks and mentioned it exactly 0 times until 7 o'clock when Caleb was trying to heat up leftover pasta. It's due tomorrow, she said, spreading construction paper across the kitchen table. Tomorrow. Yeah, I need to make a model with all the planets. Em, why didn't you tell me earlier? I forgot. Of course she forgot. Because she was 7 and her brain didn't work on project timelines. Caleb looked at the pasta, looked at Emma, looked at the construction paper. Okay, he said, what do you need? They spent 3 hours making a solar system out of styrofoam balls, paint, and wire hangers. Emma insisted Jupiter had to be bigger than all the other planets. The paint got everywhere. The kitchen table would probably never recover. But when they finished, Emma held up the model with both hands like it was a trophy. "Dad, it's perfect." It wasn't perfect. Saturn's rings were crooked. Mars looked more pink than red. The whole thing was slightly lopsided. "Yeah, baby, it's perfect." She fell asleep on the couch at 10:30, paint still on her hands. Caleb carried her to bed, cleaned up the kitchen disaster, and sat down at his laptop to finish the inventory analysis. He made it 20 minutes before his eyes started closing. His phone buzzed. Email from Avery, sent at 11:47. "Saw your warehouse recommendation. Smart. Let's implement it. Short, direct." The way she communicated everything. He typed back, "Thanks. We'll start Monday." Her response came 30 seconds later. "Go to sleep. You're no good to me, exhausted." He stared at the message, wondered how she knew he was still awake. Then remembered she was probably still awake too, working in that big office with the harbor view. "You first," he typed. No response. He closed his laptop and went to bed. The weeks blurred together after that. The audit expanded. Caleb was managing 3 analysts now, coordinating with department heads, presenting findings to the executive team. He was working 60-hour weeks and still feeling behind. Emma's teacher called, said Emma was falling asleep in class, asked if everything was okay at home. "Everything's fine," Caleb lied. He cut back his hours. Made it home by 6:30 most nights. Had dinner with Emma, helped with homework, did the bedtime routine, then opened his laptop and worked until midnight. Mrs. Patterson gave him the look again. "You're going to make yourself sick," she said. "I'm fine." "You look exhausted." "It's temporary. Big project. It'll calm down." It didn't calm down. The audit revealed more problems than Caleb had anticipated. Warehouse inefficiencies, supply chain bottlenecks, data systems that didn't integrate properly. Every solution created 3 new questions. He started having dreams about spreadsheets. Woke up at 3 in the morning thinking about carrier routes. The gala invitation sat on his kitchen counter, a daily reminder of the social obligation he was dreading. 2 weeks before the event, Marcus pulled him aside. "You getting a tux?" "Working on it." Translation: "You haven't thought about it." "I've thought about it. I just haven't done anything about it." Marcus sighed. "There's a rental place in downtown Crossing. Tell them you work for Cole Industries. They'll take care of you." "I can't afford." "Company pays for it. It's a work event." "Since when?" "Since I just decided. Go get a tux, Turner, and maybe a haircut." Caleb rented the tux. Skipped the haircut because Emma said she liked his hair messy. The tux fit okay. Made him look like someone who belonged at fancy events, which was a lie, but a convincing one. The night of the gala, Mrs. Patterson came over to stay with Emma. "You look handsome," Emma said, adjusting his bow tie the way she'd learned from YouTube. "I look uncomfortable." "Same thing." Mrs. Patterson handed him breath mints. "Don't drink too much, don't say anything stupid, and try to have fun." 1 out of 3 seems achievable. He took a car service, also company paid according to Marcus. Arrived at the hotel at 7:45. The ballroom was already crowded with people who all looked like they did this sort of thing regularly. Caleb grabbed a drink from the bar. Not because he wanted it, but because it gave his hands something to do. Marcus found him within 5 minutes. "You made it. See? Not so bad. It's been 5 minutes. 5 successful minutes. That's a start." Marcus introduced him to people. Names and titles that Caleb immediately forgot. Everyone was polite. Everyone asked about the audit. Caleb gave the same diplomatic answers he'd been practicing. The room was loud. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet in the corner. Waitstaff circulating with appetizers that probably cost more than his weekly grocery budget. He saw Avery across the room, surrounded by a group of men in expensive suits. She was wearing a black dress, hair down for the first time since he'd known her. She looked different, less controlled somehow, though that might have been the lighting. Their eyes met for a second. She nodded. He nodded back. Then someone asked him another question about carrier contracts, and he lost track of where she was. Dinner was formal, assigned seating. Caleb ended up at a table with Marcus, 2 board members, and someone from the finance department. The conversation stayed safely on business topics. The food was good. He had no idea what half of it was. After dinner, the music started. People migrated to the dance floor. Caleb stayed at the table, nursing his second drink of the night, trying to calculate when he could reasonably leave without it being rude. "You're not dancing." He looked up. Avery was standing next to his chair. "I don't dance," he said. "Everyone dances at these things. It's expected." "I'm comfortable being the exception." She held out her hand. "One dance? Then you can hide in the corner again." "I'm not hiding." "You're absolutely hiding." He looked at her hand, looked at her face. She wasn't smiling, but there was something in her eyes. A challenge, maybe. "I'm really not good at this," he said. "I know." He took her hand and stood up. The dance floor was crowded. The string quartet had been replaced by something more contemporary. Avery led him to a spot near the edge, away from the center chaos. "Put your hand here," she said, guiding his hand to her waist. He did. Tried not to think about the fact that he was touching his boss at a company event with about 200 people watching. "Relax," she said. "I'm relaxed." "You're tense." "I'm always tense." She almost smiled. Almost. They started moving. Caleb had no idea what he was doing, just following her lead and trying not to step on her feet. "You're better at this than you think," she said. "You're a generous liar." "I don't lie. Everyone lies. Not to me, not if they're smart." The song changed, something slower. Around them, other couples were dancing closer. Avery adjusted their position slightly. The movement was subtle, but it brought them closer together. Caleb's brain was screaming at him. This was his boss. This was a work event. Everyone was watching. "People are staring," he said. "People always stare. Comes with the job." "Your job, not mine. You're part of this now. You led the biggest operational change this company's done in years. Of course people are staring. They're staring because I'm dancing with the CEO. Is that a problem?" "I don't know. Is it?" She was quiet for a moment. They kept moving, following the rhythm. "I don't usually do this," she said finally. "Dance?" "Dance with employees. Get close to people in the company. It creates complications." "Then why did you ask me?" "Because you looked miserable, and because I wanted to." The honesty of it caught him off guard. Again. She kept doing that, saying things that were true instead of things that were safe. "I was miserable," he said. "These events aren't my thing." "What is your thing?" "Spreadsheets, data, problems with clear solutions." "People aren't problems with clear solutions." "I know. That's why I prefer spreadsheets." She did smile then, actually smiled. It changed her entire face. The song ended. The next one started. They should have stopped, gone back to their separate corners of the room, maintained the professional distance. They didn't. 3 more songs. Caleb stopped counting, stopped thinking about who was watching. It was just movement and music and Avery's hand in his. When they finally stopped, it was because someone interrupted. One of the board members needed to talk to Avery about something urgent. She let go of his hand. "Thank you for the dance," she said formally. "Thank you for forcing me into it." She walked away with the board member. Caleb went back to his table. Marcus was grinning. "Well," Marcus said, "that was interesting." "Shut up. I'm just saying 4 dances. People noticed. It wasn't 4. It was definitely 4. I counted." Caleb's phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Patterson. "Emma's fine, asleep, no rush." He showed Marcus the message. "I should go anyway. Early morning tomorrow." "It's Saturday tomorrow." Even more reason to go. He found his coat, made his excuses, and left before anyone else could pull him into conversation. The December air was cold enough to clear his head. The car service dropped him home at 11:30. Mrs. Patterson was reading on the couch. "How was it?" she asked. "Tolerable." "That good, huh?" He paid her for the evening, checked on Emma, asleep, Mr. Whiskers clutched under one arm, and sat down at the kitchen table. His phone buzzed again. Email from Avery. "Thank you for coming tonight. I know it wasn't easy." He stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "Thank you for the dances. Even if everyone was watching, let them watch." He read those 3 words 5 times, tried to figure out what they meant, failed. The next week, rumors started. Caleb heard them in the break room, saw them in the looks people gave him, Turner and Cole, dancing at the gala. Very close, very familiar. He ignored it, did his work, kept his head down. But the rumors didn't stop. They grew. Someone started a story that they'd left together. Another person swore they'd seen them having dinner before the gala. None of it was true. All of it spread anyway. Richard used it as ammunition, started making comments in meetings. Nothing direct enough to report, but pointed enough to sting. Must be nice having friends in high places, he said after Caleb presented a warehouse optimization plan. Marcus shut him down. Caleb's work speaks for itself. Keep it professional, Richard. But the damage was done. People were talking, taking sides. The office was developing factions. Caleb tried to talk to Avery about it, showed up for their Friday meeting, ready to address the situation. She cut him off before he could start. I don't care what people are saying, she said. It's affecting my credibility. Your credibility comes from your work, not from gossip. My work matters less if people think I'm only here because of... He stopped, couldn't finish the sentence. Because of what? She asked quietly. You know what? Say it. Because they think I'm involved with the CEO. Avery's face went carefully neutral, the expression he recognized from that first car ride. Control. Distance. Are we involved? She asked. The question hung in the air between them. No, Caleb said. We're not. Then there's nothing to worry about. But her voice had changed, something colder in it. The meeting ended early. Caleb left feeling worse than when he'd arrived. That weekend, he took Emma to the aquarium. They watched penguins and touched starfish and ate overpriced pizza in the food court. Emma talked about her friends at school, about the dolphin book she'd finally returned to the library, about how she wanted to be a marine biologist when she grew up. Caleb listened and tried not to think about work. Failed. On Monday, everything shifted. Avery called an emergency executive meeting. Caleb wasn't invited. He wasn't an executive, but Marcus filled him in afterward. She's implementing all your recommendations, Marcus said. Everything, the carrier changes, the warehouse restructure, the data system overhaul, full operational transformation. When? Starting next month. She wants you to lead the implementation team. It was everything Caleb had been working toward. Months of analysis, finally put into action. What's the catch? He asked. The catch is you'll be working directly with Avery even more than you already are. Daily meetings, constant communication. You two basically joined at the hip for the next 6 months. Caleb's stomach sank. Marcus, the rumors are going to get worse. Yeah, I know. Maybe someone else should lead implementation. She specifically asked for you. Then maybe I should say no. Marcus looked at him for a long time. Can I ask you something personal? Do I have a choice? Not really. That thing at the gala, the dancing, was there something there? Caleb didn't answer right away. Couldn't. I don't know, he said finally. Maybe, for a minute. But it doesn't matter. She's my boss. I need this job. Emma needs this job. I can't risk it for something that's probably nothing anyway. Does Avery know that? I don't know what Avery knows. She's impossible to read. Marcus nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I think she likes you. The real kind of like, not the boss approves of your work kind. That makes it worse. Why? Because I can't do anything about it. My daughter comes first. Always. And getting involved with my boss, even if it was allowed, even if it made sense, it's too risky. If it goes wrong, I lose everything. Emma loses everything. So what are you going to do? My job. Lead the implementation. Keep it professional. Hope the rumors die down. And if they don't? Caleb didn't have an answer for that. The implementation started in January. Caleb assembled a team of 5 analysts. They worked 12-hour days, coordinating with every department, managing the rollout. Avery was there every step of the way. Not micromanaging, but present. Available. Invested. They fell into a rhythm. Morning meetings to review progress. Afternoon check-ins to solve problems. Late-night emails when something came up. It was professional. Entirely professional. Except for the moments when it wasn't. The moments when their hands brushed reaching for the same document. When she laughed at something he said, and the sound hit him differently than it should. When they worked late and the office was empty and the silence felt heavy with things neither of them was saying. Caleb started avoiding those moments. Left meetings early. Kept conversations brief. Put distance between them wherever he could. Avery noticed. He could tell she noticed. But she didn't say anything. February came. The implementation was ahead of schedule. The new systems were working. The warehouse restructure was reducing costs exactly as Caleb had projected. Richard had nothing to complain about anymore. The results spoke for themselves. But the distance between Caleb and Avery kept growing. What had been comfortable working relationship became something careful, guarded. Marcus noticed too. "You're avoiding her," he said one afternoon. "I'm busy." "You're avoiding her, and she's letting you, which means something happened." Nothing happened. Then why does it feel like something ended? Caleb didn't answer. Because Marcus was right. Something had ended. Something that had barely started. Something that had existed in the space between professional and personal. In 4 dances at a gala, in the way she'd said, "Let them watch." And Caleb had killed it. Stepped back. Chosen safety over risk. Because that's what you did when you had a 7-year-old daughter depending on you. That's what you did when you couldn't afford to fail. Even if it meant walking away from something that felt real. The cold snap hit Boston in early March. The kind that made the walk from the train station feel like punishment. Caleb's coat, still the same one from the rainy morning 9 months ago, wasn't enough anymore. The lining had torn at the shoulder. He kept meaning to replace it. Emma's school called on a Tuesday afternoon. He was in the middle of a meeting with the logistics team when his phone started buzzing. He ignored it the first time. The second time, he excused himself. "Mr. Turner? This is Nurse Davidson at Emma's school." His heart stopped. "What happened?" "Emma's not feeling well. She's running a fever. You'll need to come pick her up." He checked his watch. 2:15. He had another meeting at 3, a presentation to the executive team at 4:30. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He grabbed his coat, told Marcus he had to leave, and was halfway to the elevator when Avery appeared from her office. "Everything okay?" "Emma's sick. School called." "Go. We'll reschedule." "The presentation can wait. Go." He went. The train took 15 minutes. The walk to Emma's school, another 5. By the time he got there, Emma was sitting in the nurse's office with her backpack, looking small and miserable. "Hey, baby. How you feeling?" "My head hurts, and I'm cold." He felt her forehead, definitely warm. Nurse Davidson handed him a thermometer reading. 102. "Probably just a virus, but keep an eye on it. If it goes higher, call the doctor." They took the train home. Emma leaned against him the whole way, shivering despite the heat blasting through the car. Other passengers gave them space, the way people do when a kid looks sick. Back at the apartment, Caleb set Emma up on the couch with blankets and Mr. Whiskers. Took her temperature again. 103 now. He called the pediatrician, got the nurse line, explained the symptoms. "Give her children's ibuprofen, lots of fluids. If the fever goes above 104 or she's not keeping liquids down, bring her to urgent care." He gave her the medicine, made her drink water, sat next to her on the couch while she drifted in and out of sleep. His laptop was on the kitchen table. He had work to do, reports to finish, the presentation to rebuild for whenever it got rescheduled. Emma whimpered in her sleep, reached for his hand. The laptop stayed closed. By evening, the fever was up to 104. Emma was crying, saying everything hurt. Caleb called the nurse line again. "Bring her in, just to be safe." Urgent care was crowded. They waited an hour. Emma dozed against his chest while he filled out forms with one hand. The doctor was young, efficient. Checked Emma's throat, ears, chest. "Strep throat," she said. "Pretty common this time of year. I'll prescribe antibiotics. She should start feeling better in 24 hours. Relief hit him so hard he almost laughed. They got home at 9:30. Emma took the first dose of antibiotics and fell asleep immediately. Caleb sat at the kitchen table and checked his phone. 7 missed calls from work. 12 emails. 3 texts from Marcus asking if everything was okay. Nothing from Avery. He started to type a response to Marcus, then stopped. Stared at his phone. She'd told him to go. Hadn't asked questions. Hadn't made him explain or justify. Just let him leave. He opened a new message to her. "Emma has strep. We're home." Sorry about the presentation. He hit send before he could overthink it. The response came 2 minutes later. "Don't apologize. Is she okay?" "Will be. Antibiotics. Just needs rest. And you?" The question caught him off guard. When was the last time someone had asked how he was doing? Really asked, not as polite conversation. Tired. But okay. Take tomorrow off. Stay with her. I can't. The implementation will survive one day without you. Take the day, Caleb. That's not a suggestion. He stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Thank you. You're welcome. He set his phone down, looked at Emma sleeping on the couch, her face still flushed with fever, looked at his laptop, still closed on the table. For the first time in months, he didn't open it. Wednesday morning, Emma's fever broke. She woke up asking for pancakes, which seemed like a good sign. Caleb made pancakes, the kind from a box but still, and let her watch cartoons. His phone buzzed around 10. Marcus. How's Emma? Better. Fever's down. Good. Listen, about yesterday, the presentation got moved to Friday. Avery wants you to present directly to the board. Caleb read the message twice. The board? Why? Because they're impressed. The implementation numbers are better than projected. They want to hear it from you. That's huge. Yeah. So don't mess it up. Caleb spent the rest of Wednesday rebuilding his presentation while Emma napped. By Thursday, she was well enough to complain about being bored, which meant she was definitely better. Mrs. Patterson came over Thursday afternoon so Caleb could go into the office. He needed to review the presentation with Marcus, make sure everything was airtight. The office felt different when he walked in. People looked at him differently. Or maybe he was imagining it. Marcus pulled him into a conference room. Okay, let's see what you've got. Caleb ran through the presentation. Distribution cost savings, warehouse efficiency improvements, carrier contract renegotiations. The numbers were solid, better than solid. This is good, Marcus said. Really good. But you need to simplify the data slides. Board members aren't operations people. They want the headline, not the math. They spent 2 hours refining it, cutting technical details, strengthening the narrative. By the time they finished, it was after 6. You ready for this? Marcus asked. No. Good. Means you'll be sharp. Caleb packed up his laptop, started toward the elevator. Caleb? He turned. Avery was standing in her office doorway. Can I see you for a minute? His stomach did something complicated. They hadn't been alone together in weeks, not since he'd started keeping distance. He followed her into her office. She closed the door. How's Emma? She asked. Better. Back to her normal self. Good. Silence. The kind that felt heavy. I wanted to talk to you about tomorrow, Avery said. The board presentation. Marcus helped me tighten it up. I think it's ready. I'm sure it is. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. She walked to the window. The city lights were starting to come on, reflecting in the glass. The board is going to ask about you, she said. Your background, your qualifications, why I chose you for this project. Some of them already think you're too junior, that I'm showing favoritism. Are you? She turned to look at him. Am I what? Showing favoritism. Your results speak for themselves. The implementation is working. Costs are down. Efficiency is up. That's not favoritism. That's you being good at your job. But they don't see it that way. Some of them don't. Some of them see a single father with no college degree who got hired 4 months in and promoted to lead analyst within 6 months. They see someone who doesn't fit the profile. The words stung even though they were true. So what do I do? Caleb asked. You present your work. You answer their questions. You don't apologize for being there. She paused. And you don't mention the car ride. I wasn't planning to. Some of them know. Richard made sure of that. So if it comes up, be honest. Say you got in by accident. I gave you a ride. We barely spoke. Keep it simple. That's not true, though. We did speak. I told you my whole life story. They don't need to know that part. Caleb nodded. The distance between them felt physical, like there was more than just 10 feet of office separating them. Can I ask you something? He said. Go ahead. Why did you hire me? Really? After the interview, after I'd already embarrassed myself in your car. You could have picked someone safer, someone with a degree and references and no complications. Avery was quiet for a long moment. Because you were honest, she said finally, and because you saw problems no one else was seeing, and because when I asked you if you were confident in your analysis, You said yes without hesitating. Most people hedge. They protect themselves. You just told the truth. The truth can be dangerous. So can hiding from it. The words hung between them. Caleb knew they weren't just talking about work anymore. I should go, he said. Emma's with Mrs. Patterson. I need to get home. Caleb, he stopped at the door. For what it's worth, Avery said, I think you're going to do great tomorrow. Thanks. He left before the conversation could go anywhere else. Friday morning arrived cold and clear. Caleb dropped Emma at school, took the train downtown, and arrived at the office by 8. The board meeting was at 10. Marcus met him at the elevator. You look terrified. Accurate assessment. Don't be. You know this stuff better than anyone. Just talk about the work. The boardroom was on the 10th floor. Caleb had never been inside it. Massive table, leather chairs, wall of windows overlooking the harbor. 8 people were already seated when he walked in. Avery was at the head of the table. She nodded to him. Mr. Turner, thank you for joining us. Everyone, this is Caleb Turner, lead analyst on our operational transformation project. Caleb set up his laptop, pulled up the presentation. His hands were steady even though his heart was racing. Good morning, he said. I'm here to walk you through the results of our 6-month operational audit and implementation. He started with the headline numbers. 23% reduction in distribution costs. 37% improvement in warehouse efficiency. Carrier contract savings of $2.1 million annually. The board listened. One woman, late 50s, sharp eyes, was taking notes. A man in an expensive suit was frowning at his own laptop, probably cross-referencing the numbers. Caleb moved through the slides, explained the methodology, showed the before and after comparisons. Questions so far? He asked. The sharp-eyed woman raised her hand. Jennifer Morton, board treasurer. These cost savings are impressive, but I'm looking at the implementation timeline. You restructured warehouse operations in 4 weeks. That's aggressive. What was the disruption impact? Minimal. We phased the restructure across 3 facilities, ran parallel operations during the transition, and built in buffer time for problems. Actual disruption was less than 48 hours total across all locations. How did you manage that? Clear communication with warehouse staff. They knew what was changing and why. We also involved them in the planning process. Turned out they'd been suggesting most of these changes for years. Nobody was listening. A few people around the table nodded. The man with the laptop spoke up. David Chen, Audit Committee. I'm concerned about the carrier contract terminations. Those were long-standing relationships. What's your confidence level that the new contracts will hold? High. The new contracts are structured with performance incentives and quarterly reviews. If a carrier isn't meeting standards, we have built-in exit clauses. The old contracts locked us in with no recourse. These give us flexibility. And if multiple carriers fail simultaneously? We've distributed volume across 5 carriers instead of 3. Redundancy is built in. No single carrier handles more than 30% of our volume. David nodded, made a note. More questions came. Caleb answered them all. Data integrity, staff training, technology integration. He'd anticipated most of them, improvised on the rest. After 40 minutes, Jennifer looked at Avery. I have to say, this is impressive work, especially from someone who's been with the company less than a year. Here it came. Which brings me to my next question, Jennifer continued, looking at Caleb. Your resume shows warehouse experience and logistics coordination, no college degree, no formal project management training. How did you end up leading a project of this scale? Caleb met her eyes. I got lucky, he said. I interviewed well. I identified problems during that interview that the team had been struggling with. Ms. Cole took a chance on me. I've been working to prove that chance was justified ever since. And the rumor about the car ride? Is that true? The room went quiet. Caleb glanced at Avery. Her face was neutral. Yes, he said. On the morning of my interview, my rideshare canceled. It was pouring rain. I saw a black sedan at the curb and assumed it was my replacement ride. Got in without checking. Turned out it was Ms. Cole's personal car. She gave me a ride to the interview anyway. I didn't realize who she was until she walked into the interview room. That's quite a coincidence, Jennifer said. It was mortifying at the time. In retrospect, maybe lucky. She got to see that I was desperate, unprepared, and talked too much when nervous, all of which turned out to be relevant job skills. A few people laughed. The tension broke slightly. And nothing inappropriate occurred during or after that car ride? David asked. Define inappropriate. I definitely overshared about my personal life, but nothing unprofessional happened. Ms. Cole drove me to my interview. I thanked her. She walked into the building. I had no idea I'd see her again 20 minutes later. Avery spoke for the first time since the questions started. For the record, I'd already read Mr. Turner's resume before that morning. I knew he was interviewing. I offered the ride because he was clearly panicking and I was going to the same location. That's all it was. Jennifer studied them both. Fair enough, she said. Back to the numbers. The meeting continued for another 30 minutes. By the time it ended, Caleb's shirt was soaked through with sweat under his jacket. The board members filed out. Jennifer stopped next to him. Good work, Mr. Turner. Don't let the gossip get to you. Results matter more than stories. Thank you. When the room was empty except for him and Avery, he started packing up his laptop. That went well, she said. You think? Jennifer doesn't give compliments lightly, and David stopped questioning your competence after the carrier answer. He was definitely trying to trip me up. That's his job. You handled it. Caleb closed his laptop. The question about the car ride. You knew that was coming. I suspected. You could have warned me. Would it have helped, or would you have spent all night rehearsing an answer and sounded less genuine? She had a point. For what it's worth, Caleb said, I didn't lie. Nothing inappropriate did happen. I know. But it could have. If I'd been someone different, if you'd been someone different. Avery's expression shifted, something vulnerable in it. But we're not different people, she said quietly. No, we're not. The silence stretched out. Caleb knew he should leave, go back to his desk, maintain the distance he'd been so carefully keeping. Instead, he said, Can I ask you something personal? Depends on the question. Why are you alone? She blinked. Excuse me? That night after the gala. You said you live alone so you can work late without feeling guilty. And I've been here almost a year now, and I've never seen you with anyone. Never heard you mention friends or family or anyone waiting for you outside this building. So I'm asking, why are you alone? Avery walked to the window, looked out at the harbor. Because it's easier, she said. I built this company from nothing, worked 80-hour weeks for years, missed birthdays and holidays, and every normal thing people do. The few relationships I tried didn't survive it. Eventually, I stopped trying. That sounds lonely. It is, but it's also safe. I can't disappoint people who aren't there. You can't connect with them either. She turned to look at him. Is that what we've been doing? Connecting? The question was dangerous. Caleb knew it was dangerous. I don't know, he said honestly. Maybe. For a minute. Before I backed off. Why did you back off? Because I have a daughter who depends on me. Because you're my boss. Because if this goes wrong, whatever this is, I lose my job and Emma loses stability and I can't risk that. Even for something that feels real. Does it feel real to you? Yes. Which is exactly why I can't do anything about it. Avery nodded slowly. I understand that. Do you? I'm the CEO, Caleb. Every relationship I have is complicated by power dynamics and company politics, and the fact that I hold people's careers in my hands. I'm not allowed to want things that create conflicts of interest. Is that what I am? A conflict of interest? I don't know what you are. They stood there looking at each other across the boardroom. All the things they weren't saying filling the space between them. I should go, Caleb said finally. Emma gets out of school in an hour. Right, of course. He walked to the door, stopped. Avery? Yeah? Thank you for the chance, for believing I could do this, for all of it. You earned it. Maybe, but you gave it. He left before either of them could say anything else. That weekend, the weather turned brutal. Wind off the harbor, temperatures in the teens. Emma wanted to go to the park. Caleb bundled her up and they went, spent 20 minutes on the frozen playground before retreating to a coffee shop for hot chocolate. Dad? Yeah, baby? Are you happy? The question came out of nowhere. What do you mean? At work. Are you happy? Caleb thought about it, the long hours, the stress, the complicated situation with Avery. I'm good at my job, he said carefully. That makes me happy. That's not the same thing. When had his 7-year-old gotten so perceptive? You're right, he said. It's not. But right now, good at my job is enough. Mrs. Patterson says you work too much. Mrs. Patterson says a lot of things. She also says you never smile anymore, except when you're with me. Caleb set down his coffee, looked at his daughter. You make me smile because you're the best thing in my life. Always, no matter what else is happening. Even when I forget my homework? Even then. Emma took a long sip of her hot chocolate, leaving a whipped cream mustache. I think you should have more things that make you smile, she said. That night, after Emma was asleep, Caleb sat at the kitchen table and thought about what she'd said. His phone buzzed, text from a number he didn't recognize. This is Avery. I got your personal number from HR. I hope that's okay. His heart did something stupid. It's fine. Is everything okay? I've been thinking about what you said, about why I'm alone. And I wanted you to know that you're wrong about one thing. What's that? You're not a conflict of interest. You're just someone I like talking to. Someone who tells the truth. Someone who makes me remember there's more to life than this building. Caleb stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Avery, I can't. I know. You have Emma. I'm your boss. It's complicated. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that whatever we're not doing, I'm not doing it too. He sat there for a long time, phone in his hand, trying to figure out how to respond. I need this job. Emma needs this job. I know. And if something happens between us and it goes wrong, I lose everything. I know that too. So where does that leave us? The response took a while to come. I don't know. But I'm tired of pretending I don't think about you, even if I can't do anything about it. Caleb's hands were shaking. I think about you too. This is a terrible idea. The worst. We should stop texting. Probably. Neither of them stopped. They texted for 2 hours. About nothing important. Emma's school project, a documentary Avery had watched. The terrible coffee in the break room. Normal things. Human things. It was almost midnight when Caleb finally said goodnight. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, knowing he'd just crossed a line. Not physically, not professionally, but emotionally. And he had no idea what came next. The texting didn't stop. It should have, but it didn't. Late nights after Emma was asleep. Early mornings before work started. Safe topics, mostly. Work problems, funny observations, the kind of conversation that lived in the space between colleagues and something else. At the office, they maintained the distance. Professional, careful. In meetings, Avery was the CEO and Caleb was the analyst. They didn't sit next to each other, didn't let their eyes meet for too long. But the texts kept coming. March turned into April. The implementation project wrapped up successfully. The board was pleased. Richard stopped making comments, probably because the numbers made him look foolish. Caleb got a promotion. Senior Operations Analyst, 20% raise. His own office with a door that closed. Emma got new shoes. Real ones, from the actual shoe store, not Target clearance. She picked them out herself, bright purple with silver laces. Look, Dad, they light up when I walk. They're perfect. Can we afford them? The question broke his heart a little. Yeah, baby, we can afford them. Things were good. Should have been good. Caleb had the job he'd been working toward for years. He could pay his bills without panic. Emma was happy, but something was missing. Or maybe something was there that shouldn't be, living in his phone in the form of messages from a woman he couldn't have. Marcus noticed first. You've been weird lately, he said one afternoon in May. Weird how? Distracted, checking your phone constantly, smiling at nothing. I don't smile at nothing. You smiled at your coffee this morning. It was deeply unsettling. Caleb set down his pen. Can I ask you something? Always. Have you ever wanted something you knew you couldn't have? Marcus leaned back in his chair. This is about Avery. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I've seen the way you two don't look at each other, which is somehow more obvious than if you were looking. It's complicated. It's always complicated. That's not an excuse. She's my boss, Marcus. My boss. Even if company policy allowed it, which I'm not sure it does, it would change everything. The gossip would start again. People would say I only got promoted because of her. My credibility would be destroyed. Okay, valid concerns. Counterpoint, who cares? I care. Emma cares. This job is our stability. So you're just going to keep pretending forever? That's your plan? Caleb didn't have an answer for that. That night, Emma had a nightmare. Woke up crying about something she couldn't explain. Caleb sat with her until she fell back asleep, then went to the kitchen and stared at his phone. He opened the message thread with Avery. Their last exchange was from that afternoon. She'd sent him a photo of terrible parking job with the caption, "Someone got a license from a cereal box." He'd responded with a laughing emoji. 17 months of knowing her. One accidental car ride that changed everything. Months of working together, dancing at a gala, pulling away, texting in the spaces between, pulling all. And for what? So they could keep circling each other, wanting something neither of them could reach for? He typed a message. We need to talk. Actually talk. Not like this. The response came immediately. When? Saturday? Emma has a birthday party. I'm free from 2 to 5. Where? The rooftop, at the office. Nobody's there on weekends. I'll be there at 2. Saturday came cold and gray. Caleb dropped Emma at her friend's party, some kid from school he'd never met, parents who seemed nice enough, and took the train downtown. The office building was empty. His badge still worked. The elevator ride to the 10th floor felt longer than usual. The rooftop access was through a door he'd never used. He pushed it open and stepped out into the wind. The rooftop was bare. Just concrete, ventilation units, and a low wall around the perimeter. The city stretched out in every direction. Harbor to the east, downtown to the west. Cold and gray and real. Avery was already there, standing near the edge, wearing jeans and a jacket he'd never seen her in. She looked different out of work clothes. Younger, maybe. Or just more human. Hey, he said. Hey. They stood there awkwardly. All the easy conversation from texting had vanished in the cold air. So, Avery said, you wanted to talk. Yeah, about this. Us. Whatever this is. Okay, talk. Caleb walked to the edge, looked out at the harbor. The water was choppy, gray as the sky. I can't keep doing this, he said. The texting, the not looking at each other, the pretending nothing's happening when something clearly is. What do you want me to say, Caleb? I don't know, something honest. Something that isn't us dancing around it. Avery was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, raw. You want honest? Fine. I think about you constantly. I look for you in meetings. I read your reports twice because the first time I'm too distracted by the fact that you wrote them. I check my phone at midnight, hoping you texted. And I hate it because I've spent 15 years building this company and I've never let anyone get close enough to distract me, and now you're here and I don't know what to do about it. The words hit him like cold water. Avery, you asked for honest. I'm being honest. I like you. Not as an employee, not as a colleague, as a person. As someone who makes me laugh and challenges me and sees me as something other than the CEO. And it's terrifying because I don't do this. I don't let people in. I don't risk losing control. So what do we do? She turned to face him. We do nothing. You have Emma. I have the company. The risks are too high. We both know that. So we do what we've been doing. We keep our distance. We stay professional. Eventually it fades. Does it? Does this kind of thing fade? I don't know. I've never felt this kind of thing before. Caleb closed his eyes. The wind was sharp enough to hurt. I can't give you what you deserve, he said. I can barely manage Emma and work. I forget things. I'm late for everything. I live in a tiny apartment with broken furniture, and I still can't find that stupid stuffed cat half the time, even though I know where it is. I'm a disaster. You're not a disaster. I am, and you're you. You built a company. You run everything perfectly. You deserve someone who has their life together. I don't want someone perfect, Avery said quietly. I've had perfect. Perfect is boring. Perfect doesn't get in the wrong car and ramble about granola bars and make me remember what it's like to talk to someone real. But Emma is the most important thing in your life. I know. And I would never ask you to choose between her and anything else. But Caleb, you're allowed to want things for yourself too. Am I? Because I've spent 8 years putting her first, making every decision based on what's safest for her. And it's been the right choice. But now I'm standing here with you, and I want something I can't have, and I don't know how to make that fit. Avery stepped closer, close enough that he could see the way the wind was pulling strands of hair from her ponytail. What if you could have it? She asked. What if we figured out a way that didn't risk everything? There isn't a way. You're my boss. The power dynamic alone, so I stop being your boss. You report to Marcus instead. We keep things quiet until we know if this is real or just whatever this is. The board will still find out. People will still talk. Let them. You said yourself your work speaks for itself. You earned your promotion. You earned your office. You earned every opportunity I gave you. Anyone who says different is wrong. Caleb wanted to believe her. Wanted it so badly it hurt. And if it doesn't work, he asked, if we try this and it falls apart, I still have to see you every day. Still have to work here, still have to... Then we handle it like adults. But Caleb, I've spent 15 years protecting myself from risk, building walls, staying safe. And I'm tired. I'm so tired of being alone in that big office, working late because there's nothing to go home to. I'm not a solution to your loneliness. I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking if you want to try. Carefully, slowly. With Emma first. Always. But try. The wind picked up. Somewhere below, a car horn blared. I'm scared, Caleb said. I'm scared of losing my job. Of Emma getting hurt if this goes wrong. Of wanting something and having it destroy what I've built. I'm scared too, of being hurt, of losing control, of wanting something and having it disappoint me the way everything else has. They stood there in the cold, two people who'd built their lives on safety, trying to figure out if they were brave enough to risk it. If we do this, Caleb said slowly, it has to be on Emma's timeline, not ours. If she's not ready, if it's too much, then we wait, or we stop. She comes first, and work stays separate. No special treatment, no favoritism. You already report to Marcus. I'll make it official. And if people talk, they're already talking. Let them. Caleb looked at her. Really looked. At the woman who'd given him a ride in the rain, who'd hired him anyway, who'd pushed him to be better and believed in him when he didn't believe in himself. I want to try, he said. I'm terrified. But I want to try. Avery smiled, actually smiled, the kind that changed her whole face. Okay, she said, so we try. Where do we even start? Dinner, next weekend, just us, somewhere nobody from work goes. That's a date. Yes, that's the idea. Caleb laughed. The sound surprised him. I haven't been on a date in 3 years. I haven't been on one in 6. We'll figure it out. They stood there smiling at each other like idiots until Caleb's phone alarm went off. Emma's party pickup in 20 minutes. I have to go, he said. I know. He started toward the door, stopped, turned back. Avery? Yeah? Thank you. For this. For taking the risk. Thank you for being worth it. The next week moved in slow motion. They didn't text as much, trying to establish new boundaries. At work, Avery announced that Caleb would be reporting to Marcus going forward, effective immediately. A few eyebrows went up. Nobody said anything. Friday night arrived. Caleb had told Emma he was having dinner with a friend from work. Not technically a lie. Not technically the truth either. Mrs. Patterson agreed to stay with Emma, gave him a knowing look. A friend, huh? Yes, a friend. Mm-hmm. You're wearing your good shirt. I only have one good shirt. Exactly my point. The restaurant was small, tucked into a neighborhood Caleb had never been to. Avery had picked it. She was already there when he arrived, sitting at a corner table, looking nervous. Hi, he said. Hi, you found it okay? GPS is a miracle. They ordered wine, looked at menus, made awkward small talk about the weather. This is weird, right? Caleb said. We text all the time and now we're sitting here like strangers. Very weird. Should we just, I don't know, talk like we normally do? We don't normally do this in person. Fair point. The wine arrived. They both drank too fast. Tell me something I don't know about you, Avery said. Like what? Anything. Something real. Caleb thought about it. I'm afraid of birds, he said. Birds? Yeah, the way they move. It's unpredictable. Freaks me out. Avery laughed. Actually laughed. That's the most random thing I've ever heard. Your turn. Tell me something. She was quiet for a moment. I don't know how to be close to people, she said. I mean, I know how in theory, but in practice, I panic. Start finding reasons to pull away before they can leave first. Is that what you're doing now? Finding reasons? I'm trying not to. They talked through dinner. About Emma, about Avery's college years, about the terrifying feeling of wanting something you weren't sure you deserved. The restaurant emptied around them. They ordered dessert just to stay longer. I should go, Caleb said finally. Mrs. Patterson charges by the hour after midnight. Cinderella rules. Exactly. Outside, the spring air was almost warm. They stood on the sidewalk, neither quite ready to leave. Can I see you again? Avery asked. Like this, outside work. Yeah, I'd like that. When? I have Emma next weekend, but the weekend after. It's a date. They said goodnight. No kiss, no touching, just a look that promised something neither of them was quite ready to name yet. Caleb took the train home feeling lighter than he had in months. The weeks unfolded slowly. Dinners every other weekend, careful conversations, learning each other outside the office context. Avery met Emma by accident. Caleb had mentioned he was taking his daughter to the aquarium. Avery had texted that she'd always wanted to go back there. It wasn't quite an invitation, wasn't quite a coincidence when they ran into each other by the penguin exhibit. Dad, is that your friend from work? Caleb's heart stopped. Yeah, baby, this is Avery. Avery crouched down to Emma's level. Hi, Emma. Your dad talks about you all the time. Good things? The best things. He says you're really smart and that you know everything about dolphins. Emma's face lit up. They spent 2 hours at the aquarium, Emma chattering about marine biology, Avery asking questions, Caleb watching them interact and feeling something crack open in his chest. After, Emma fell asleep on the train home. Caleb carried her the 3 blocks from the station. His phone buzzed as he was tucking her in. She's amazing. You're raising an incredible human. Thanks. She liked you too. How do you know? Because she asked if you could come to her birthday party next month. She doesn't ask that about just anyone. Can I? Yeah, if you want to. I want to. The birthday party was at the apartment. Just Emma, 3 friends from school, and too much cake. Avery showed up with a gift, a book about ocean conservation, and stayed for the whole thing. She helped clean up after. Wiped down the kitchen table while Caleb tackled the frosting disaster. Thank you for coming, he said. Thank you for inviting me. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching the new book. Avery, can you read this to me? Caleb started to intervene. Avery probably has to. I'd love to, Avery said. She sat on the couch with Emma curled against her side, reading about coral reefs and ocean currents. Caleb watched from the kitchen, scrubbing dishes that didn't need scrubbing. This was dangerous territory, letting Avery into Emma's life, making her part of their small world. But watching them together, seeing Emma's face light up, hearing Avery's voice soften as she read, it felt right in a way Caleb hadn't expected. After Emma fell asleep, Avery helped him carry the birthday decorations to the hallway closet. I should go, she said. It's late. Stay, Caleb said. Then, realizing how that sounded, for coffee, if you want. They sat at the kitchen table with terrible instant coffee and talked until 2 in the morning, about fears and hopes and the strange path that had led them here. I never thought I'd want this, Avery said. The domestic thing, birthday parties and bedtime stories. I convinced myself I was built different, that work was enough. And now? Now I'm sitting in your tiny kitchen drinking bad coffee, and I can't remember the last time I felt this happy. It's a very small kitchen. I noticed. And the coffee is truly terrible. The worst I've ever had. They smiled at each other across the wobbly table. Caleb? Yeah? Can I kiss you? His heart did something complicated. Yeah, you can. She leaned across the table. The kiss was soft, careful, like they were both afraid of breaking something fragile. When they pulled apart, Caleb was smiling. That was overdue, Avery finished. I was going to say nice, but overdue works too. Summer arrived hot and humid. The office gossip picked up again when people noticed Caleb and Avery leaving together sometimes, taking the same elevator, sharing knowing looks in meetings. Marcus pulled Caleb aside one afternoon. "So you two are—" "Yeah, we are. About time. You were both miserable pretending you weren't. What if people will talk? They always do. But you've earned your place here. Your work is good, really good. Anyone who thinks you're skating by on favoritism is an idiot." Richard, predictably, had thoughts. Made a comment in a meeting about interesting career trajectories. Avery shut him down immediately. Mr. Turner's promotion was based on merit and board approval. If you have concerns about the process, take them to HR. Otherwise, keep it professional. Richard went pale. Never brought it up again. The official relationship disclosure happened in August. Caleb and Avery sat in HR, filled out forms, confirmed they'd discussed the power dynamic issues, and agreed to report structures that avoided conflicts of interest. The HR director looked over her glasses at them. "This is unusual." "We know," Avery said, "but not against policy. As long as there's no direct reporting relationship and no favoritism, we can make it work." They made it work. Slowly. Carefully. With Emma always as the priority. Avery started coming to Sunday dinners, helped with homework. Learned to make pancakes the way Emma liked them, slightly burned at the edges. She was terrible at it. The pancakes came out lopsided, some raw in the middle, others crispy enough to be weapons. Emma loved them anyway. "Avery's pancakes are special," she declared. "That's one word for them," Caleb said. "You're both mean," Avery said, but she was smiling. Fall came. A year since that rainy morning. Caleb had a corner office now, a team of analysts reporting to him. Emma had started 3rd grade. Avery had cut back her hours, leaving the office by 7 most nights instead of 10. Small changes. But they added up. One October evening, cold and clear, the kind that promised winter was coming, Caleb took Avery back to the rooftop. "Why are we here?" she asked. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small box. Avery's eyes went wide. "Caleb, if you're proposing—" "I'm not. Open it." Inside were silver earrings shaped like autumn leaves. "I don't understand," Avery said. "The car ride. That morning. It was raining, October, leaves everywhere. That's when this started. When you gave a soaking wet stranger a ride and changed his entire life." She picked up one of the earrings, held it to the light. "These are beautiful. You're allowed to have things that are just for you, not for work. Not because they're practical, just because they're beautiful and they make you happy." Avery put on the earrings. They caught the city lights, gleaming silver against her dark hair. "How do I look?" "Like someone who's learning to let people in." "And how do you look?" "Like someone who's learning it's okay to want things." They stood there as the sun set, the city spreading out below them. A year ago, Caleb had been desperate, drowning, barely keeping his head above water. Now he had a career he loved, a daughter who was thriving, and a woman who saw him as something more than just another employee. "Can I tell you something?" Avery said. "Always." "That morning in the car, when you got in by accident, I almost told you to get out. I almost said you had the wrong car and drove away." "Why didn't you?" "Because you looked terrified, and because something in me recognized something in you. I don't know what it was. Desperation, maybe. Or honesty. Or just humanity. But I saw it and I couldn't turn away. I'm glad you didn't." "Me too." Down on the street, evening traffic was building. People heading home after long days, lives intersecting and separating in the normal chaos of a city. Caleb's phone buzzed. Text from Emma. "Mrs. Patterson made meatloaf. It's bad. Come save me." He showed Avery. She laughed. "We should go rescue her." "We?" "If you want. If it's not too fast." "Avery, you've been having Sunday dinners with us for 3 months. I think the too fast ship has sailed." "Fair point." They took the elevator down together, walked out into the October evening. The air was cold enough to see their breath. "Hey, Caleb." "Yeah?" "Thank you. For getting in my car, for being honest, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for giving me the ride, for taking a chance on the disaster in the borrowed blazer." "You weren't a disaster." "I was absolutely a disaster." "Okay, yes, you were. But you were my disaster. They walked to the train station hand in hand, rode to Caleb's neighborhood, climbed the stairs to the apartment where Emma was waiting. Mrs. Patterson opened the door, took one look at them, and smiled. "About time," she said. "Emma, your father's home." And he brought Avery. Emma appeared, launched herself at Caleb, then immediately turned to Avery. "Did you see the meatloaf? It's so bad." "I heard. Maybe we should order pizza instead." "Can we get extra cheese?" "Obviously." They ordered pizza, ate it on paper plates at the wobbly kitchen table. Emma talked about her day, about the boy in her class who still ate paste, about how she'd decided she wanted to study oceanography in college. "That's 8 years away," Caleb said. "I know, but it's good to plan ahead." After dinner, Emma asked Avery to read to her. They curled up on the couch with the ocean conservation book while Caleb cleaned up. He watched them from the kitchen, Emma's head on Avery's shoulder, Avery's arm around Emma's back, the two people who'd somehow become his whole world. Later, after Emma was asleep, Caleb walked Avery down to the street. "You don't have to go," he said. "You could stay, if you wanted." "Is Emma ready for that?" "I don't know. Maybe we should ask her." Revolutionary concept, communication. I'm trying this new thing where I'm honest about what I want instead of pretending I don't want anything. How's that working out? Terrifying, but good. Avery kissed him, longer this time, deeper. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. "I'll stay next time," she said. "When we're sure Emma's ready, when it feels right. And until then, I'll keep coming to Sunday dinners and making terrible pancakes and learning how to be part of something bigger than work." "That sounds good." "Yeah, it really does." She got in her car, the same black sedan from that rainy morning. Caleb watched her drive away, then went back upstairs. Emma was still asleep, Mr. Whiskers tucked under her arm. Her new shoes were by the door, purple with silver laces, slightly scuffed from the playground. Caleb sat at the kitchen table and opened his laptop. Not to work, just to look at the calendar. 1 year ago, he'd been drowning, working a warehouse job, barely making rent, watching Emma grow up in the spaces between panic attacks about money. Now he had a career, a team, a woman who made him believe he deserved good things. It wasn't perfect. Emma still had bad dreams sometimes. Work was still stressful. The apartment was still too small and the table still wobbled. But it was theirs, built on honesty and risk and the kind of luck that came from getting in the wrong car on a rainy morning. His phone buzzed. Text from Avery. "Made it home. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for terrible pancakes and ocean books and everything else. Everything else is my favorite part. Mine too." He closed his laptop, checked on Emma one more time, fell asleep thinking about autumn leaves and second chances and the strange paths that led people to exactly where they needed to be. Because sometimes you